If you're interested in hearing more about some of the other colleges at Ohio, go check us out at ohio.edu/bobcat-chats. First, I should introduce myself. So I'm Paul Benedict. I'm an associate professor of instruction here at Ohio University in the College of Business. I'm also the associate director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. I've been here at OU for about 6 years now. Before that, I spent the bulk of my career in and around startups as an investor, as an operator, as a founder myself. I try to bring all of those lessons learned into the classroom, from some nice wins and some not so nice losses, and in how I try to coach and mentor students. I say every day that I'm living the dream, and it's really true because I get to do all of this here at my alma mater. I'm also an OU grad. Just to brag on the College of Business for a second, we're the 15th ranked public business school in the country. In addition to all that we do in the classroom, which is world class, we offer a ton of experiential opportunities for students, and you'll hear about some of those today. We have 6 centers of excellence in the college. 2 of them, the AECOM Center for Sports Administration and the Shea Sales Center, are ranked number 1 and in the world and in the U.S. Respectively. The Center for Entrepreneurship was recently ranked a top emerging program in the country, which is great, but we're not satisfied, right? We want to be among the best of the best. We have a growth mindset, and our students have a growth mindset too. And so as transition, no students exemplify that growth mindset more than our guest this evening, Matt Benson. Matt is a 2019 graduate of Ohio University, a Cutler Scholar, majoring in entrepreneurship. While he was a student at OU, Matt founded a company called eFuse to be essentially a LinkedIn for esports. As graduation approached, Matt was meeting with investors, raising money for his vision for eFuse, recruiting people to join the team. It's a great story, and I'm sure we'll get into it. It's also worth noting that eFuse wasn't Matt's first startup. In addition to his interest in esports and tech, Matt has worked a lot and worked hard to give back to Appalachian, Ohio, in his hometown of Chillicothe. And so with that, Matt, it's always great to see you. Welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Excited to be here. As you mentioned, graduated from Ohio U last year, which is kind of crazy. It seems like a long time since then, but really it hasn't been. Born and raised in Chillicothe, so about an hour south from Columbus. Now living here in Columbus, Ohio, and as you mentioned, Paul, the founder and CEO of eFuse, which is essentially a professional network for esports and video games. So our core focus is on connecting gamers and aspiring gamers to opportunities in the industry. And it may shock many people, but there are tons of collegiate scholarships that are available. There are tons of jobs. There's sponsorship opportunities, tournaments, etc. And our core platform is focused on connecting individuals to those opportunities.
Thanks, Matt. Also joining us this evening is Natalie Sova. Natalie is a rising junior in the College of Business and the Honors Tutorial College, majoring in business analytics and management information systems. She's been incredibly active on campus in things like the Select Leaders Development Program, the Shea Sales Center, Isaac. You're also a tour guide on campus. And I wanted to share a thing that Natalie actually wasn't really aware of until tonight. About a year ago, Natalie was in a business plan tutorial class with me, and the project that she worked on with her team was for a low-cost veterinary clinic for the Athens County Humane Society, which I'm also involved in. And thanks to the work that Natalie and her team did, in particular in validating the need and the demand for low-cost spay-neuter services in Southeast Ohio, we're actually making that happen, right? We've raised some money. We have recruited a couple of veterinarians to work with us. We're looking at remodeling a facility to be able to facilitate that. So Natalie will get to add that to our list of accomplishments of things that she actually helped make happen. So with that, welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy to think that like a year ago I was in your class, and now a year later I'm halfway through my experience in the College of Business. And as you said, I'm a management information system and business analytics majors. And actually, my experience with the university started when I was 12. My two older sisters went to OU, and now my youngest sister is going to be joining us at OU next fall. So we're a Bobcat family, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
That's awesome. So as I mentioned, I'm a Bobcat. Our kids, my wife also works in the College of Business. She's a much better professor than I am. Our kids are 9 and 8, and they're definitely going to be Bobcats. Whatever I have to do to make that happen, our kids are going to be Bobcats.
Runs in the family.
Of course, they're going to want to, and I'll make them. So with that aside, Matt, I wanted to ask a first question for you. When you look back at your college career, and specifically in the College of Business, can you, in your path then ultimately to founding eFuse, can you talk about some things that were impactful along the way, and maybe when you realized that you could actually do this?
Yeah, I think it's almost helpful to hear the story as a whole, right, of how eFuse came to be and sort of the milestones along the way, if you will. And OU was definitely a huge part of that. So as I mentioned, born and raised in Chillicothe, I grew up a gamer myself, never any good competitively, obviously, but played casually with friends, right? And it was a part of my childhood. I wouldn't say it was a core piece, but something that I enjoyed doing. I was fortunate to come to OU in 2016, and as part of being involved in the College of Business, one of the key milestones that you go through in your progression in the College of Business is called Cluster. And it's essentially, as you all are well aware, but a semester-long experience where you're conducting research on a particular industry, and then ultimately developing basically a business plan around that industry. So for example, we had the esports and video game industry, thankfully, and through that, I had the opportunity to develop this massive report on what are the opportunities, what are the weaknesses, what are the things in which this industry needs. And it was actually through that initially that we got a better understanding of what the landscape for esports and video games was. So fast forward a few years, Paul and the other Paul and the Center for Entrepreneurship become tools of mine. And I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing and jump into venture capital. But there's one more crucial piece before I took that step into the entrepreneurial scene, and that was going and working at the Ohio Innovation Fund, which is actually Ohio University is an LP, a limited partner in that fund, and that venture capital firm is based here in Columbus. They're investing in early stage tech companies. I like to say it's sort of a slowed down Shark Tank, right? So for me to go there and work as an undergrad, and that was a direct connection from Ohio U, I learned so much about what entrepreneurship really meant, but also got to see it from the other side of what's the venture capitalist thinking, what's the investor thinking. So after having that experience, after having the ability to conduct research and be a part of Cluster and really get an idea of what gaming looked like, it was in August of 2018 that sort of jumped ship, if you will, from Ohio Innovation Fund and founded eFuse with my co-founder, who's an engineer here in Columbus. It was actually, we had another Bobcat at the time that was helping us out. His name's Ian Klaus. And the three of us sort of jumped ship and founded eFuse. And over the course of the last year and a couple months, as you mentioned, we've been able to launch a web product. We have raised over $2 million in funding. We've got a team in downtown Columbus now, over 16 people, spread primarily here in Columbus. We've got 12 in Columbus, and then 4 spread out across the rest of the nation. And then on top of that, we've launched the product, which has had great success very early on. We've surpassed 100,000 users in 4 months. We're growing at around 3.5% every single day. We've generated revenue, and we're now cash flow neutral. And this is all within 6 months. So there's a lot more behind the scenes, right, of having the mentorship and learning along the way. But the public eye of the company being available, 6 months of really great progress, and hopefully we're just beginning. But I do think it's those two pivotal moments, especially of Cluster, and then having the experience at the Ohio Innovation Fund, and then on top of that, having the mentorship of the professors and the faculty at OU. Those are the three things that really shape my experience when it comes to entrepreneurship and moving into a founder and CEO role.
That's awesome. Thanks, Matt. Natalie, maybe you're not as far along yet, right? You still got a couple years left.
Mm-hmm.
But can you talk a little bit about, some of the most impactful things that you've experienced so far that have sort of shaped your vision for yourself and your goals?
Yeah, so definitely I'm in the honors tutorial college, and so through that program I'm able to take tutorials with professors like you, and so I get more like one-on-one attention, which I've found really beneficial. But then also I've been seeking that attention out through the mentorship programs that the College of Business offers and also the university as a whole offers. And so I found that something that's really beneficial to me is talking to the alumni and finding what they found most beneficial during their undergraduate careers, and then also what they enjoy about what they're doing right now, maybe some things that they would do differently, and then taking that into consideration and really learning where I want to go, and having their advice along the way has been really helpful. And then some of the other things that have been really shaped my experience are my student organizations. So as you mentioned, I'm part of Select Leaders, the Shea Sales Center, and then Isaac, and then we're starting a new student organization right now called UDesign. And so the ability to learn these different skills within the classroom and then be able to apply the skills in the student organizations has something that's been really incredible to me.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we certainly try to do a lot is, not just talk about theory, not just read books, not articles, right? All that has value, right? But then it's, can you go out and apply it in some tangible way, like now, right? And for me, to me, I think from where I sit and working with students, the sort of magic or the light bulbs going off are always in the applied experiences and the one-on-one conversations with students, and really sort of digging in. And the thing that's fun for me is I get to learn every day too, right? So I'm an old man at this point, but and I've learned a few things, but I'm still learning every day from our students and what they're doing, and I think a lot of us know that we don't always have the answers, but we can work together to help you find them, right? Which maybe is a little different than people expect from a teacher-student sort of relationship.
There's also two other things to add in there too that's really interesting to me. I think is a differentiator when you're talking about the Center for Entrepreneurship, especially. But part of that is not only do you have people like yourself that have been there and done that have actually been in the entrepreneurial world and built something, sold it, or invested in that, and having that guidance. That's one piece. But the second piece is there's sort of this like positive failure mindset, right? Of like, hey, let's just jump ship and figure it out along the way. And by the way, both of the Pauls are going to be there holding your hand, right? Of like helping coach you. That's so valuable. The biggest lessons that I've been able to learn over the last 2 years are definitely from my biggest failures. But then understanding that that's not a setback. That's an opportunity to grow.
And going off of that, even I've joined so many different organizations that are very different from each other, and being able to take like what I like in the organization, also what I don't like, to help gear me towards what I might want to do in the future has been really helpful.
Yeah, figuring out what you don't want to do can be as valuable as figuring out what you do want to do, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So Matt, let's take another step back, like before OU, and if you don't mind, talk a little bit about some of what you did before you came to OU that you then sort of leveraged once you were in school in terms of, thinking about how you wanted to be a business leader and an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think it goes back to growing up. I wasn't very good at listening to instructions. I always wanted to do my own thing, right? Being my own boss, and my mom, I'm sure, can attest to that. But part of that too is like, again, getting out there, failing and learning. So a couple things that I was fortunate enough to do early on that sort of were in that entrepreneurial world. One was on the 4th of July, I would rally a group of friends and we would go sell glow sticks all across Southern Ohio. That was sort of like our first entrepreneurial venture, right? Getting into smaller like film companies, going and recording dance titles, burning DVDs, selling those to parents. And then eventually moving my way into tech, and was fortunate enough to meet an individual who's from my hometown area, and we started a company called SnappyCast, and essentially it was a a messaging system for underprivileged Appalachian schools that couldn't necessarily afford these bigwig technologies that could have were alert systems around snow emergencies, shooters in the school system, whatever it would be that you needed to get communication out immediately. We didn't see those in our schools, especially we cared about the snow delays, right, and closing of schools. So that's where we were really interested in why we started. So we do that. We get it into some schools, have a really great experience there, continue to grow it, and that sort of brings me into Ohio U. And that's really how we met, Paul, is that initial like storyline of, hey, I've got something here. I have no idea what I'm doing, but what should I be doing? Where can I go with this? And I think it was just a great sort of use case for me to come in and learn upon as time went on. And we ended up having some success there, and it spun into ultimately learning more. And then it really was a catalyst to me getting into eFuse, our current tech company.
Yeah, I think that's so true, right? In a lot of ways, right? The freedom to try stuff and not be afraid to fail, and being willing to learn as you go. And I think the truth is that even, those of us who've got experience, we don't have all the answers either, right? And so we're trying to figure it out with you too. And I think anybody that says they know it all is probably either lying to you or they really don't know that much.
Yeah, and I think go ahead.
No, go ahead. No.
I just had one more one-liner that I sort of take away from that experience at OU is vulnerability is a breeding ground for growth, and understanding that and being willing to put yourself in vulnerable situations, whether it is starting a business or going out for social hour to a happy hour just to meet people, like those are experiences that are necessary for you to grow. And I feel like that was really instilled in me while I was at OU.
Yeah. How about you, Natalie? So, what led you to OU, and what was your thinking when you started, and how has that evolved?
Yeah, so as I said before, my older sisters went to OU, so I'm originally from Western New York, so probably wouldn't have been in like an area that I was thinking of before my sisters went there. So when I went to tour the campus, something I always found was that the people were so friendly. And then actually a few students that were my sister's friends allowed me to sit on some classes with them. And like we were talking about earlier, one of the first classes I sat on was your class. And just the way that the professors engaged with the students is something that I didn't think like happened at a college level. I always imagine it's like you sat in a big lecture hall and you just listened and then you carried on with your day. But really, like, I found that the professors cared about the students, and they cared really, like, they would take the time out of their day to do anything for their students. And then I remember talking after class with you, and you gave me your contact information, and you're like, even if you don't go here, I'll help you. And I found that was like, I was blown away by that. So that's something that really stuck with me and why I wanted to go to OU. And I found the experience true ever since I've been here is the professors really care about their students and will do anything to help them to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, that's really nice of you to say that, Natalie. And I think it's true. So Matt, we've got a question from the viewing audience for you. Is there anything you didn't appreciate enough when you were a student at Ohio?
That's a good one.
Now that you're out, right? Now that you're successful running your company, you have employees, right? You're building this massive thing that's going to change esport.
Accounting. I should have taken accounting more seriously. But no, I mean, there was a lot of really, really great things about EO. I'm so grateful for that experience. I think it was like, again, I'm not a great rule follower, but looking back, like the classes were not only applicable in the sense that I got to learn by the fire, but I also really did get hard skills from it, right? And what I learned in the classroom is, shockingly, to me at least, that stuff I'm actually using in the workforce too. So it's awesome looking back on it, but I think that's something I didn't necessarily believe or appreciate when I was there at the time.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned accounting. You think about like personality types. There's entrepreneurs over here, accounting way over here. Like Entrepreneurs don't like rules so much. Accountants love rules, right? Solve for X,
Right.
right? you need both those things. There's a reason I'm not an accountant too. God bless accountants. Thank God for accountants. Thank God our accounting department is awesome.
Absolutely.
Just not me.
Right.
Natalie, we had a question from the audience for you. What are you most looking forward to in your final 2 years at Ohio University?
Yeah, so during my first 2 years, I talked about it a little bit. I was able to explore like a lot of the different opportunities, and now I've really dived deeper into the student organizations, and I've taken some leadership roles. So I'm really excited to take on these roles and really engage with the alumni population a lot more, because I just took a role as alumni relations for select leaders. And so I'm really interested to see like where I can take these roles, and so that's something I'm really excited about.
That's really great. And Matt, so just to follow up on that, and we've got a question from Facebook that I'll get to in a second, but were there any leadership opportunities that you had in college at OU that helped prepare you for, being the CEO of a company and hiring people and dealing with those sorts of decisions?
I don't know if there were as much leadership positions as there were the abilities to be involved in events with people that were outside of my realm per se. So alumni is a great example. So Student Alumni Board was a group that I was involved in my first few years on campus, and that was tremendous because I was surrounded by a number of alumni from all over the world, really. And being able to interact with them not only when they came back on campus, but if I was traveling to a city. And one of my favorite quotes, I can't remember who said it, but when on freshman orientation, when we were in the convo, one of the things that one of the speakers had said was, Bobcats are for Bobcats and Bobcats are everywhere. And it is unbelievable, like just walking through any airport in the world that I've been able to travel to in the last year and a half, let's just say that. And the amount of times I get stopped because I have a Bobcat pin or I'm wearing a Bobcat t-shirt is unbelievable. So I would say that the ability to be around a very diverse group of people, learn from those people, but then also have the meaningful relationships with them to strike up a conversation no matter where I'm at, whether I'm at a bar in the airport or walking down the street, whatever it is, that's something that's a differentiator in my mind, the social piece of it. So, and then I think that carries into my work life, right? So a lot of what I'm doing is not only working and managing relationships in my own company, but working externally too with partners and all kinds of different types of personalities. So the greater the exposure I had from a social standpoint, which I got at OU, the greater my skills have been moving into the workforce.
That's a great point. You take me back to, I'm a young grad out of OU living in Chicago, and, going for a jog on the lakefront in OU gear and hearing, go Bobcats as I go by, or, get to OU and then expecting the response, oh yeah, right? So it's like it's weird in a way that it's not a thing that's common, I don't think, in the same way at other schools.
And I think there's just such a passion, right? I mean, it's more than just anything else. It's not just a saying. Like, people are so passionate about OU. I can't think of a Bobcat really that hasn't loved OU, which is so strange. I mean, it's just, I can't wait to get back on Court Street. I can't wait to go see my old professor. It's just so much passion for the area, and I think that exudes again in the simple conversations of passing.
Yep. Natalie, have you had similar encounters of Bobcatness around the world?
Yeah, I have. Actually, this was really funny because so I studied abroad in Ireland, and when I was on one of the tours, it was to the Cliffs of Moher. We actually saw someone with a Bobcat sweatshirt on, and we struck up a conversation with him. And it was just so funny because, like, who would think in Ireland you're seeing like another Bobcat? And he was so friendly and everything. So that was really awesome. So
that's mic drop. Natalie wins. Her story's better than ours, Matt.
That's a fact.
All right. So we have a question for you, Matt, from Facebook user Jared. Hi, Jared, out there, wherever you are. What was your first definition of entrepreneurial success, which you needed to adjust and redefine to make it more realistic?
Read that to me one more time.
So what was your first definition of entrepreneurial success, that you needed to adjust or redefine to make it more realistic, or that your first impression was different than reality, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I was growing up, it was like idolizing the mythical figures of Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates, and in reality, and you have these pictures of them right in your mind. Even Gary Vaynerchuk, like individuals like that are so exuberant, I think is probably the right word to say, that you sort of look to. But I think for me, and that was success. That was like, I need to be like that. I need to be, they're super stringent, super rude, and like just get things done and make all this money. That's success. But in the reality, what I've been fortunate, and I'm really grateful to realize this like so early in life, compared to some other people, is just that happiness is sort of the key component for me. And it's the relationships along the way that make it all worthwhile. Money can be something that comes as part of building those relationships or building a great business, but that's not what gets me up in the morning. What gets me up in the morning is building something that has impact on the people around me. So not only is it the relationships I have every day, but eFuse is a great example. We're a free-to-use platform, and our core product is, but we're every single day connecting individuals who didn't know that scholarships existed in gaming with that opportunity. And that's life-changing for some people. If you get a $10,000 scholarship to go to university, like that changes your life. So for me, it was changing the North Star from fame and money to more of happiness and impact. That's what makes me happy. So I'd say that was my shift in mindset around success.
That's awesome. Let's see. So Natalie, one for you. So what advice would you give incoming Bobcats in your field of study? So either in business analytics or MIS?
Yeah, so when I first came into the College of Business, I wasn't really sure that I was interested in business analytics or MIS. I didn't even know of management information systems as a major. And I was actually really set on a healthcare path of business, so health service administration. And so advice I would give to students coming into the College of Business is to talk to faculty about the subjects that they teach and find out why they're interested in the subject, and maybe that'll spark an interest in you, because that's actually how I found out that I was interested in management information systems, was by talking to older students and also faculty members.
That's great. And so related to that, for either of you, what would you say to students that aren't quite sure what they want to do, right? They're, maybe juniors or seniors in high school, and they're not sure what they want to do yet. Maybe they have an idea, but maybe they're not sure. What would you say to them in terms of, figuring that out?
From my perspective, it's a lot of just tasting, right? Like, I didn't know what I wanted either. It's going in and, okay, let's try out student alumni board. Let's try out meeting people for drinks on Court Street or whatever it is. Like, let's touch a bunch of different things and go to different classes. Let's take an art class, which is something that I never thought I would have enjoyed, and touch those different things so you can understand like what gets you going, and then explore that moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would go off the same thing that you said, Matt. Just getting like a taste of everything, and then reflecting on what you really are enjoying and what gives you a lot of energy, and then other things that you're not enjoying, and maybe take a step back from them is something that I found is really helpful.
And I think one other thing to add on there too is like utilize the network of Bobcats to taste as well. There are so many people with so many different experiences, and I can't really recall a time where I've reached out to another alumni and asked them for help and they haven't gotten back to me and said, yeah, at bare minimum, I'll have a conversation with you, right? So I think being willing to again, take that leap of faith to some extent, send the email and say, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time, and ask them about their experience. That can be just as valuable as just going and tasting it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I think my experience, obviously older, right? But literally everything good that's happened in my professional life has been because of relationships I built at OU and then after, and reaching out to alumni and having some mentors. And the truth is that, even today, I still have mentors. I still have people that I turn to on a regular basis for their advice. And it's unbelievably valuable and important. And that all starts with this shared notion that, we're Bobcats, we've got each other's back, right? And that, we've got this shared experience and we want to see each other do well, right?
Mm-hmm. And something that I found is you do have like this flexibility in your schedule to like try out these different things if you want to try out these different classes. And then like your first 2 years is a perfect time to do that. You have the flexibility because even as I said before, I did change my major and I'm still going to graduate on time and I still was able to study abroad. So just allowing yourself to try out these different things is really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to ask this question and then I'm going to get up and go turn on the light in my office because I wasn't sufficiently prepared in the sunset. So it's getting a little dark in here. So when I stand up and walk away, that's why. So Matt, we had two questions for you that are related. So how did your time at OU, do you think, prepare you for the uncertainty of COVID-19 and leading a company during this time? And the related question was from Nader on YouTube. How will the transition to mass digitization of work, education, and social interactions in light of COVID-19 affect how companies build, grow, and the future of esports?
Yeah, so there's nothing that really prepares you for that, especially when you have an entire company looking towards you, right? Of like, what do we do here? And at the end of the day, I'm 22 years old, and I'm trying to figure it out just as much as they are. So again, I would say it's relying on the network. I've called one of my great mentors is David Bidwell, who I don't know if he's still on the board of trustees at OU or not, but he's a Bobcat alumni. He was a great mentor to me all the way through college. I met with him once a quarter. So just a great mentor, but being able to pick up the phone and have those conversations with people that nobody's ever seen anything like COVID, right? But have been through hardships and rough times, and what does that look like navigating? What does leadership look like through that? So our company is very fortunate in that we can all work remote. We've not had to decrease payroll at all. We've actually, in light of things, it's obviously super unfortunate circumstances, but for gaming, it's very positive in the sense that people are home, they are gaming more, and more time is being spent there, which is greater for our industry as a whole, and consequently our business. So that's sort of how I view it now. But looking into the future, the reality is like there's going to be a new normal, whether people want to admit it or not. This is going to change us, just like any other hardship that we've had. So the way I look at it is you've just got to be adaptable and willing to learn and willing to grow. And if you're able to do that, you're going to be just fine. So what is my prediction? I have no idea. I think it's going to be ultimately very positive for gaming. Again, as unfortunate as it is, but we'll ride the wave and we'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Natalie, for you, so you're taking on a leadership role in the Select Leaders program this coming year. So if you could talk a little bit about that, and then maybe how has some of the uncertainty around big events like homecoming, have you thought about how you might adapt to those sorts of things as you interact with alumni and create opportunities for alumni to meet with students and vice versa?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was actually on a call last week about this with Tim Reynolds, and we were talking about my new role as alumni relations. A lot of the work that the past VPs of alumni relations had worked on was Alumni Day, which was held on homecoming. And right now that's up in the air. We don't know if that's going to happen. And maybe it'll happen virtually or maybe it'll happen in person. We're not really sure about that. So something that I've been focusing on is creating like what if scenarios. What if we are in person? This is how it would run. What if we're not in person? This is how it would run. But then also taking advantage of the technology that we have. I found like now that having video conferences is more common, like I feel like I go on video conferences instead of calling people now because it's something people do. So like there's those opportunities that we can connect with alumni in that way. And then also we used to go on networking trips, which we're still supposed to do in the fall and spring. But if people aren't working, if they're working from home, how is that going to change? But that also opens a lot of opportunities, again, because we have alumni in different countries that we could be video conferencing with and different things like that. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities to come. Yeah,
I mean, it may be that the new normal creates more opportunities in some ways, right? So Natalie, we had another question for you from Maggie on YouTube. How have you used student organizations to personalize your experience within the College of Business?
Yeah, so they've definitely personalized my experience because I think that the student organizations are a great way to meet other people and, again, learn from them. There's a lot of upperclassmen that had these experiences and they want to teach you different things. And actually, in one of my student organizations, something that an upperclassman said to me that really stuck out to me was, we're all in this room for a reason. And the sooner that you realize that, the better off you are. So that really stuck out to me because it's showing that these upperclassmen want to help you. And even though you're an upperclassman, it doesn't mean that you don't have as much to add to a conversation, because we do come from all these different backgrounds, whether it be a different state or whether it just be you're in different organizations which shape your experience. And so I think that just meeting these different people and also getting to know the faculty members has been really helpful because that'll help shape their experience.
That's great. Thanks, Natalie. So we have another question from out in the web for both of you. What's the one experience within the College of Business you've had that you didn't think you'd like, but you ended up loving?
Yeah, I could start with that one. So actually, the way that I got involved with the alumni relations roles was through the Shea Sales Center. I was the director of alumni relations, and when I initially interviewed for a leadership role, I was interviewing for the director of philanthropy, and I didn't end up getting that role, and I got the director of alumni relations, which I didn't know at the time that I would be so interested in. And so it's just having these people, these upperclassmen that see something in you and they really believe in you and help you to achieve what you want to achieve is something that stuck out to me. And now I love working with the alumni and different things like that.
Yeah, so for me, I would probably say it's cluster, which is kind of ironic, right? That was such a piece in my experience. It's sort of if you join the business Bobcat world, it's sort of like the nightmare semester, right? There's just so much. But it's so impactful too, because I was never tested like that. I was never had to manage my time in such a structured way, and also work with people. The way that clusters, I guess, originated is you're on teams of people that you might not necessarily communicate with all the time, but that requires you have to communicate. You've got to figure it out along the way, but then on top of that, make sure the work's getting done. So it's the nightmare semester when you get into the College of Business, but after the fact, it's like, man, that was such an impactful experience for me, and it was the same for me. But I was even more fortunate that it was in an industry that has shaped me what I'm in today. And I can't say that I would be where I'm at if I had not gone through that. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, you both know that I teach one of the management courses in cluster, and I hear it all the time, right? That students, when they come in, they're sort of dreading it, right? But once they get into it, it's maybe not as bad as they thought, and two, I really do think it makes a difference that we're trying to emulate real life as much as we can, right? So, what's a real life, sort of boss-employee relationship? You're on the same team, right? So as faculty, yeah, we want good work product out of the students, and we want to help you get there. But it doesn't do us any good. We don't win, right? If the work isn't good. So we're pushing, but it's all with a mind towards wanting to be helpful, right? And so and I think when students realize that they can come to us for help, and that we want to help and we want them to do well, and it's not gotcha, and we're not taking joy in any sort of negative feedback, right? It's all like, this was great that you did, right? Now here's how we take it to a next level and make it even better. I think that realization, because it more closely resembles real life, I think that can be a big breakthrough for a lot of students.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just interesting because cluster is like putting your back against the wall, but then it's also at the same time, like you said, providing the resources for you to cultivate that growth.
Yeah.
So it not only is it pulling the best out of you, but it requires you to give more effort, and it requires you to lean on the people around you, which is the reality of the world. You have to be able to do those two things to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I'm being honest, I mean, if I think back to the person I was at 19, 20 years old, I wouldn't have been a good teammate, right? So I have a ton of respect for what I see our students accomplish every day in not just cluster, but overall, right? I was a good student, but I was a good, like, by myself student, not a good, like, working in a team student. Yeah. And I had to learn all those lessons when I got out into the real world, and some of them were hard, right? So I think that the advantages that you guys are armed with when you're going out into internships and starting first jobs or starting first companies are a really big deal. So as we come towards the end of our time, we have one last question from Sarah on YouTube for both of you. What would you tell incoming Bobcats who are uncertain about what they want to pursue for a major, and any personal experiences of how the College of Business helped you with this? And I think you addressed that a little bit earlier, Natalie, but if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I can even expand on that in terms of the Management Information Systems major. So the College of Business has an AIS day where different students tell their story about why they're majoring in things like business analytics and MIS. And so that was something that really stuck out to me, because these students were saying, like, look at how these classes align, and you would only have to take a few extra classes to have both of these majors. And so just hearing, like, their experience and why they're interested in AIS helped me to discover that I was interested too.
That's great.
Yeah, I think just to add on top of that, we hit on a little bit earlier, but just take the leap, get yourself out there, taste as much as you can, rely on the faculty and the alumni and even your fellow classmates to get to learn from their experiences and help mold that into what you want to become. You have all the resources at OU to almost create the person you want to be. It's just a matter of taking the initiative to discover what that is, and that requires you putting yourself out there.
Yeah, that's great. So, as we come towards the end of our time, let me just say, I don't know about anybody else out there in the world, but this has been a blast for me. It is great to see both of you in particular. It's great to see you both doing well and healthy and happy, and even through challenges that we're all going through right now. And I don't want to be sappy about this, but seeing you and others persevere and make the best of it and have good attitudes, it's totally inspiring to me to, like, don't whine, don't complain, have a good attitude and get after it, right? So thank you for that. Matt, do you want to share any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think the only thing is, if you're thinking about going to OU, I guess the little sales pitch here from my perspective is, to be full transparent, I was not the kid that grew up saying I'm going to Ohio University, right? But it wasn't until I took the time to come onto campus, to have the conversations and to see how people treated one another, that I realized that not only are the resources here for me to create the person I want to be, but the people that exist here are kind people, they're relationship based, and they want to see me succeed. And I'm going to get those opportunities as soon as I step foot on campus. So my experience, I don't know that I'd be where I am today without. I know I wouldn't be, actually. Paul and I have become friends. It started with as a mentor, and I truly, we text for every couple of weeks, Paul, and just catch up. So it's those relationships that I think really showcase what OU is about. Not only are we going to help you achieve your dreams, but along the way, we're going to be a friend and be mentors. So I can't, I guess, give my claim enough to OU.
Thanks, Matt. How about you, Natalie?
Yeah, going off of what Matt said, my two older sisters, I said they went to OU, and so originally I was like, I want to go a different path just because I didn't want to be going to the same school as my sisters. But I cannot be more thankful that I chose OU because of the opportunities it's given me, from mentorships, like relationships with alumni, to relationships with my friends, and everything in between. I've had so many great experiences with the past 2 years, and I can't wait to see what the next two.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. So just to everyone out there in the world watching and listening, thank you for joining us. We'll continue to answer questions posted to Facebook or YouTube in the comments, even after the live stream ends. You can find all the videos in this series at ohio.edu/bobcat-chats, and make sure to stay in touch with Ohio University and follow our accounts on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, wherever fine social media channels are found. So I think, let me just, I want to make sure there wasn't another question. I think we're good. So everybody out there, thank you so much. Matt and Natalie, you guys are the best. Thank you. And everybody stay well out there. And we hope to see everyone in Athens soon. Bye. Go Bobcat.